I need to start today with a confession. I am really good at finding solutions for problems I don't have. If you put a new app, a new system, a new piece of gear in front of me, my brain immediately goes, wow, that's cool. What could I do with that? It doesn't say, do I need this? It's more like, how can I justify buying this? And if you're wired like me, curious, analytical, tech-minded, you probably know exactly what I'm talking about. In this episode, I'll tell you the questions I learned to ask myself that keep me from accumulating unnecessary solutions to problems I don't have. In my last episode, I talked about process versus product goals, how leaders can get really good at building systems, but still struggle to produce meaningful results. Today's episode is an extension of that idea, but a little bit more personal. Because sometimes the issue isn't that we lack solutions, it's that we have too many and not enough real problems. So here's the trap. Discovering a new tool feels like progress. Setting up a new system feels productive. Optimizing workflows feels responsible. But none of those things guarantee results. In fact, tools can become a very sophisticated form of procrastination. They give us the feeling of movement without actually accomplishing anything. This is just like I talked about in the last episode. If you put all your time and energy into the solutions themselves, that is, the processes, you don't ever create results or products. And for leaders, especially the capable ones, this type of procrastination is dangerous. Because when you're smart and resourceful, you can always find a way to justify a new solution. And then you have another process to occupy your time. I've gotten very good at this. In fact, I'm an expert in convincing myself that this new app or that new system is going to be the thing that finally makes everything click. And if you're like me, what do? Well, we buy the solution. Then we have to go looking for the problem that it's actually going to solve. And I'll be honest, this has been a recurring theme in my own life. I told you that in the very opening. That's why this is so personal for me. I love technology, I love new gear, I love efficiency, I love apps, and more than once, I've caught myself building complexity where none was needed. Instead of asking what's the real problem here, I jump straight to what's the coolest way to solve this. Sometimes there wasn't even a problem, it was just an opportunity to play with a very cool solution. And playing with a solution feels safe. Taking action to fix a problem doesn't. In fact, it's a little scary and uncomfortable. That's because action produces results, and results expose whether we were right or wrong. Here's the part leaders often miss. This habit costs us more than money. Think about this for a minute. Every time you add a new solution, it costs you focus. It adds another thing to occupy your mental time and energy. It costs you momentum because you have to pull attention and resources away from other priorities, which may actually be the more important priorities. It can cost you clarity because you no longer are sure of what the problems are that you need to solve. And if you've got other people involved, it can cost you trust, especially when you have to drag your teams into unnecessary change. Every new tool adds friction in the form of training and decisions and maintenance and just overall distraction. And suddenly, instead of leading, all we're doing is managing the complexity we created ourselves. That's when leaders confuse activity with true progress. We get busy optimizing, busy configuring, busy planning, but we don't actually move the needle. Now, at some point, something shifted for me in my leadership. I realized that effectiveness in leadership often looks like restraint, especially in self-leadership, which is where good, effective leadership starts. It's not anti-technology. It's not anti-innovation. It's just intentionality. I started slowing myself down with better questions before clicking buy or install. Questions like this: what problem am I actually trying to solve? And do I really have that problem right now? What happens if I do nothing? Will this solution create value, or is it going to just create wasted motion? These questions don't kill innovation, they actually protect it, because the goal isn't fewer tools, the goal is better outcomes. So, what's the takeaway? If you're wired like me, curious, analytical, always thinking about improvement, here's my encouragement. Pause before adding something new, before adding another new solution. Ask yourself this: am I solving a real problem, or am I just avoiding the harder work of executing on what we already know? Leadership isn't about having the best solutions. It's about solving the right problems. Sometimes the most powerful leadership move you can make is choosing not to add another thing. Now, I hope this helps. If it resonated with you, take a moment to reflect on where you might be mistaking activity for progress, and choose your next step with intention. Thank you for spending a few minutes with me today on the Modern Leadership Solutions podcast. Remember to hit like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next episode.